So I'm Louise, and as a business owner, we're just coming to talk to you guys about how this is gonna have to be a collaborative effort, and we need to go back to the initial 2 Rs, the reduce and reuse. Recycling is the 3rd option as far as that goes. And then we're looking at composting, and that's a huge business to take on in our community. So in order for reducing and reusing to happen successfully in our community, it needs to be a collaboration. You need to hold us accountable as business owners and not purchase things, and we need to be the people that are not purchasing things that are overwrapped, you know, like, so specifically for me and my business, like we stopped carrying any glass products as far as it goes for resale when Moscow Recycling stopped taking glass, because it was just gonna be more of a transportation issue and stuff. So we don't have bottles of beer anymore. We don't carry Henry Weinhardt's soda, all of those things. Also, as far as like beverages go, we try to only stock things within 300 miles. So then we're cutting down on our carbon footprint as far as what is being shipped to us. There aren't a lot of things that we can specifically do, but the little changes can make an impact. And then that hopefully resonates with our customer base, and they have that mindset also, and they choose to shop at places that choose to make these decisions. That's one of the things that we're doing.
Yeah, and, so I'll talk a little bit about the compostable issue. I appreciate your question, David, because that's something, you know, I think everyone here in this room and us as business owners, and I know other business owners, we're really motivated to do something to reduce the amount of waste, plastic being just one of them. And then the more you look into it, and, you know, I got all fired up, and we, even though they cost more, decided we're gonna get the compostable cups. And we got a couple cases of them, and I think before they even were delivered, I realized we don't have anything to do with them. So they're still sitting in the boxes unopened, because you're right, and the amount of energy that it takes to produce those compostable cups, as far as the freight from the China, perhaps, all the agricultural corn-based products, if those end up in the garbage, that's even worse than putting just a regular plastic cup in the garbage. So I think we all, out of good intentions, are looking for something and think, oh, this is a compostable cup. And we all feel like we're doing something and we feel better about it. But if that's going in the garbage, you're better off with regular plastic. And so then the more you think about it, the more I've been thinking about it and talking with people and researching it, it really does come back to the reuse. Just trying to at least reduce the amount of those single-use disposables, whether they're regular plastic or compostable. And how can we as a business do that, and what incentives and education can help us as consumers to make those choices. We've been doing a couple things at One World, like we have a 10 cents off if you bring your own cup. And we have a lot of customers who do that religiously. But when I looked at kind of I did a little stats looking over the year, and I was really sad and kind of embarrassed to say that in the year we went through about 65,000 disposable cups. So that's about 200 a day. And the number of transactions where people use that 10 cents off was a little over 3,000 in the whole year. So to me, that's like, okay, there's a lot we can do to improve that, to have more people taking advantage of that. And I think the question goes back to consumers, you know, what can we do to make that more attractive? I think there's an education piece, like what you're all receiving here, so that we all take that moment to think about it when we make that decision. I recently just started, you know, with my husband too, it's that convenience factor, but just washing all our reusable things and just having them right by the door, so that on your way out, you know, you might not think about it and you just grab it on the way out the door. So that's just like small little steps that you could do yourself that might assure that you have that reusable cup, because you want to do that, but you just didn't think of it, and there you are accepting your plastic cup and plastic lid. We've also started selling pretty much just at our cost reusable straws and little straw cleaners, and we've sold a lot of those, so people want to do this, you know. Yeah, in the past 3 months, we sold 324 of those reusable straws.
Wow.
So that just tells me people they want alternatives, they really wanna reduce their use of that stuff.
So those metal or bamboo or
They're,
balsa
they're
or
metal, they're stainless, yeah.
co-op supplements too.
Yeah, they.
Yeah, and they're just $1, we can sell them for $1.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then, as Stevie mentioned, you know, really seeing if we can find a location for these compostable things, you know.
Because there's so many, I talked to Nectar, because his recycling was out the door contaminated, and it would have all these cups in it, and I was like, we need to get this compostable cup thing going, because he has to use a lot of them. And just some companies cannot get around it. I went to the Corner Club because they have number 2 plastic cups, but they're not following their jugs, so they can't recycle it. How many cups do you think the Corner Club goes through every weekend, right?
Yeah.
That's all they have, and they don't really have another option to go to reusable glass because they don't have the infrastructure to handle that. But if he could change to compostable, and then we had a place for those, so there's so many businesses who would benefit from that.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of interest, and it's really great that LSI is
Yeah,
saying,
we
"Oh,
just need to
we'll
look at
test
it."
something
Yeah.
out." And
Let's
I
just
know,
test it so we have an answer.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for
Yep.
that testing process to happen, and then hopefully as a downtown business corridor, you know, like that we can be a part of the first level of change, you know, and making that like no single-use items and everything must be compostable in our community, and then setting up receptacles downtown where people can only put compostable items in it, and the key is education. Ultimately, that's where we're really lacking, and even as business owners, you know, we're required to take a food handler's test, right? Well, why can't all business owners be required to take a waste management class? Something that Stevie can come and talk to us all about, you know? It only needs an hour, but it'll help us not only sort, but how to choose what it is that we're purchasing and where it is that we're purchasing it from.
yeah, go ahead.
Just to interject then, how about when you take those certification courses, you get a sticker for your window of your
Yeah,
business? Because I
absolutely.
heard One World mentioned, and you, and Louise, your business is.
Might be yours.
So to name those businesses and give them that public recognition. So if you're going to compost cups at some point, that suggests contaminated kind of materials. So is that the next step toward food residuals too, for composting?
No.
Well, so we'll have Nick right here. So, you know, I think there are motivated people to solve this problem from all different angles, and Nick contacted me a few days ago. I know he's been brainstorming with this with Louise for quite a while, but he's interested in starting even a small scale residential pickup, maybe using his bicycle. He can jump in if I'm saying something wrong, and subscriptions. He's been researching how other communities do it. So that would be that food kind of issue, maybe potentially his dream, I think, is to expand it to businesses, but realizing that these things have to start slowly, so.
Big undertaking to do all the business.
Yeah.
All the business scraps.
Yeah.
Did you Palouse peddlers?
Loose compost peddlers, I work in title, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a default at coffee shops all over the country. They give you a takeaway cup unless you say it's for here. You know you can't get rid of me at One World, so they know I'm staying there.
Yeah.
They kick me out. But all over the country, at the food co-op, it happens a lot. I'll even say it's for here, they bring me a cup. Also, at One World, when I get a Frappuccino, which is a blended mocha, I guess, I always ask for a glass, and you give it to me, but most people do not.
Right.
And I also see people at the food co-op, this is really common, everybody's eating their food at lunch out of plastic in the co-op instead of like regular.
Yeah, I think that's where, like, if both sides can kind of work together, the customer feel empowered to ask that business owner, because they may just be on autopilot. Put it in a cup, put a plastic lid on it, stick a straw in it, you know, but if you say, you know, it's just like, I don't need a bag, right? Many of us are used to saying that, and those cashiers are used to hearing that, and it's
I
fine.
don't need a cup.
Right, so, you know, but I don't need a straw, or I don't need a lid, even if you are taking something disposable, even just if eliminating those little pieces of plastic that maybe you don't need. And then at the same time, the businesses, maybe, you know, making sure all your staff is not automatically offering those things. Maybe having some of those things behind the counter, which that's a little more controversial, but where, you know, not to to shame anyone, but to make you think, if you want a straw, that's fine, we have straws, but, it's just not that automatic.
Yeah, it's a
take it at that
necessity or a
moment.
luxury
And then
item,
maybe
you
if you
know?
think, if you have to ask for me, you decide, I don't need one, I'm fine. So
Well,
I
how
think there's
about
that
the,
balance.
some of the cities and even countries that have banned plastic bags? And, like, I know when I was in Sweden, I was just appalled that they were gonna charge me for my bag to carry out, not, rather than doing that. But we don't charge for plastic bags if you get them in plastic, it's just paper or plastic.
Yeah, but then instead you get the 5-cent credit, so it's just the same kind of thing, if we can change people's mentality about it.
But in the state of
Then it's
Idaho
like
as
a-
well,
it's-
it does not allow cities to have a plastic bag ban or to charge for them. That's a state law in the state of Idaho.
That's why we have to do the reverse situation.
Yeah.
Where you get a discount.
And that's like the part of being an educated consumer and an educated business owner. And specifically, for my business, the people that are gonna get sandwiches to go, one of the things we're gonna hopefully move to, because we put the sauce on the side of it's to go, and it's like, that is so much single-use plastic, and it's like, we're gonna switch and go the other way, and it's like, unless you ask for the sauce on the side, your sauce will come on the sandwich, kind of thing. And it'll probably irritate people for quite a while. We've only been there 37 years until all of a sudden this new practice
Is there
might
something
be
in
getting
public
used to.
health or sanitation too? Because now sometimes I've taken my own cup someplace and I said, no, we
Nope.
can't do that, we
And-
can't touch it.
It's true, like Brandy and I were talking about that with health department regulations. We're more susceptible to it at Mikey's. We have an open kitchen. So like if people want to get soup to go, which is great, they bring in their own container and it's like, legally, we're not supposed to do this. Because like we're taking something from the outside that hasn't been through a commercial kitchen and we're putting it into our kitchen. Whereas like Brandy, hers isn't going into the food service area, so if you bring in your own to-go cup, it can be used in the front part. And it's like, really,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You have to
It's
serve them,
frustrating.
like it's for there in their bowl, and then they're on their own,
Yes.
transfer to their.
Yeah, and it's very, and it's unfortunate, we have to go
Yeah.
through those kind of things, that there are health department regulations that are really making this more of a struggle than it should be.
And I think also the division is not only like front of the house versus the kitchen area, and I just kind of learned about this yesterday too, that there's some different rules for drinks versus food in your own container.
Yeah.
There's also people in different parts of the country who've just gone out on their own and made something happen, and our former mayor Nancy Cheney sent me one that was great. I shared it with some people. What was it? Green to Go. It was just a woman in South Carolina who got tired of it, and this same issue is what made me think of it. She couldn't bring her container and have the food put into it, and just got people together, created an organization where there are reusable takeout containers that are distributed to the businesses that want to participate, and your food is put in those containers. There are receptacles at different locations throughout the city. When you're done with it, you drop it in the receptacle. They get collected and they get sanitized at a commercial facility and redistributed to the restaurants. And one of those containers takes the place of 1,000 takeout containers, is what their research Duke study found on the effects of that. So there are
Lots of options
options
and
to do,
ideas.
but it takes a lot of energy
Yeah,
and
it does.
Collaboration.
motivation.
I just wanted to bring up one thing, maybe some of you remember this. 29 years ago, 4 young ladies at the high school were the foam busters. Did you remember that at all? They were some of my students. Anyway, they actually took it upon themselves to approach the school district about not using styrofoam and the reasons why. And they got the school district to get rid of styrofoam and buy other products instead. I just found out that the school district is now using styrofoam again, so we have to do it all over again. But those kinds of interactions with kids especially, I think we need to get kids motivated to do something, and I think adults will listen to them because they did 29 years ago. Anyway, I want to give Tim some time to answer your question about the current status of the recycling center, unless there are other questions for,
One quick,
okay, quick one.
for the food aspect, places like A&W that have mixed foil and paper, you can just have it wrapped in paper and you tell them in a bag, have the foil, still probably foil or food contaminated, at least why do you need the metal? And for takeouts, sometimes you get styrofoam, but they often also have a paper option you can ask.
Yeah, we love it when people say sauce on it, no bag. I mean, it's quicker for us, you know, just to do that immediately. And then it cuts down on a lot of environmental waste. And then also our food our costs as far as what it is that we're bringing in, just like I said earlier, so stuff. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.